Hello and welcome to No Apologies on Beck, where we are unafraid to speak the truth. I am your host, Rick Becker, our co-host, Lori Hintz.
I am so proud to be here with you again.
You're back.
I am. I'm
back in the North Dakota groove.
Yeah, and I'm going to say y'all a lot now.
You were down in, where were you at, Texas?
I was in Nashville, Tennessee, as a matter of
Tennessee,
fact.
oh, yeah.
Which I will now fondly call Nash Vegas, because it was crazy busy, crawling with people, and a lot like the Las Vegas
Really?
Strip on Broadway. Yeah, it was crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Well, this weekend, it was a very interesting weekend for me. Friday night, I gave a talk down in Dickinson to the Southwest Patriots group.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Great group of people. We may have one of them on, one of the organizers on our show here in the near future. Yeah.
I love that idea.
Yes. First, though, I want to talk about Afghanistan. It's in the news. You're hearing all about it, and there is so much to talk about. This has been weighing very heavily on my mind and my heart today, and it's being politicized. And I think that we have to really look at a couple of aspects of Afghanistan, what's going on. On one hand, we have the immediate current events, right? The pullout of the Americans and the complete collapse of the Afghan government and takeover by the Taliban. And we have helicopters coming into the embassy, into the compound to evacuate people. Very reminiscent, I mean, almost mirror images of what happened in Saigon when we lost the war in Vietnam and had to evacuate people. There's such chaos, there's such desperation. People, Afghans, climbing onto the outside of the planes. And I've seen the video, perhaps you have, where the planes are taking off, people are falling off. Pictures of people landing on roofs in Kabul. And I think that is, in large part, an issue with the method of how we pulled out, which rests on the shoulders of our current president. So people want to blame Biden for this, and others want to blame somehow Trump. And Biden this last weekend was also blaming Trump, although now he gave a talk today, a press conference, in which he spoke to the nation and said that the responsibility rests on him. And it is, I think it really is, complete mismanagement, a complete misreading of the circumstances on the ground. It was only last week that the administration was asked and then answered that the Taliban were not going to take over. I believe they said that there were 375,000 well-armed, well-trained Afghan troops on the ground as opposed to roughly 75,000 Taliban, that there was no worry. And yet it's only a week later and we've got a Vietnamese-esque evacuation. It's an embarrassment, which is the least. An embarrassment to other nations is the least of the concerns here. It is a tragedy through and through. We have been there, and we have brought people onto our side who helped us. And many of those people are being left behind. Those people will be killed. Those people will be raped. Those people will be tortured. Now, we are bringing many over. There's only so much you can do, especially if you haven't had a well-thought-out plan. So yes, we're going to give Biden a lot of blame with regard to what's going on now and the complete chaos that has been ensuing. What I won't do, though, is give Biden the blame for the second track of what I want to talk about. And that is, regardless of the chaos, the end result, 6 months from now, 1 year from now, the chaos that's currently happening, the end result is going to be the same as if it was well thought out and there wasn't the chaos. In my opinion, it will be the same whether it happened now or whether it happened under Trump. Had he been reelected or had he chosen to effectuate the withdrawal during his first term. The end result is the same, and that is we're leaving the Afghan people. The Taliban is going to take over. That was inevitable. It was inevitable. And I think that we have to look at that. Fine, if you want to talk about Biden and make this partisan, go ahead. If you want to somehow put the blame on Trump for this chaos, I don't know how you can do it, go ahead. But the bigger picture here is what happens now. What else could have happened? Why did we get into this war? Why did we stay? And that's the discussion that we need to have. When you consider, before we got into Afghanistan, we are all aware that Afghanistan is known as the graveyard of empires. The graveyard of, those are pretty strong words, okay? Not only that, we saw the Soviet Union, a military might equal to the United States, lose a war to the Afghans in the 1980s. It was not that long ago. They lost. The Soviets lost 14,000 soldiers. They died. There were 50,000 soldiers that were wounded. There were over 1 million civilians that were wounded or killed. We knew what the likely outcome was going to be before we ever got in there, and certainly while we were staying. We knew it. By the way, the Taliban that we're fighting, the Taliban that just won, the Taliban that took over the presidential palace to declare their victory, the presidential palace that used to be occupied by the Afghan president who fled Afghanistan with a helicopter full of cash and declared also that the Taliban had won. Make no mistake, folks, we lost. Again, we lost the war in Afghanistan. The Taliban, we fondly called freedom fighters. They were the mujahideen that the Soviets were fighting in the 80s. They were the jihadists. Okay? We spent, I believe it was $20 billion we used for arms and financing of the mujahideen in the 80s. Many of the mujahideen separated. They had a bit of a civil war. Not all the mujahideen turned into Taliban, right? But the ones that were victorious, they were the Taliban. So we helped those guys before we decided to fight those guys. And that's the way it goes when elected politicians are making the decisions based on what is good for them politically versus what is good for the United States, for the average citizen. We have been spending $300 million per day for 20 years in Afghanistan. We will have spent over $2 trillion on this war. We have borrowed money for it. In effect, it will cost us over $6.5 trillion. $6.5 trillion with interest. But forget that cost and forget what that money could have done for the citizens of the United States. Forget all of that because we also have 6,000 U.S. deaths, including contractors and soldiers. And we have over 20,000 wounded soldiers, U.S. alone. That doesn't take into account suicides. It doesn't take into account substance abuse. It doesn't take into account ruined relationships and ruined lives. It takes none of that into account. It also doesn't even think about the 50,000 civilians that were killed. Well over 50,000 civilians. This has a very strong parallel to Vietnam. And I watched not too long ago a very good documentary on Vietnam and how complicit initially JFK was in getting started and how horrible the fiendish bastard Lyndon Baines Johnson was for keeping us in the war for political expediency. It took 3 presidents before we finally got out, and each one of them was to blame. We look now, you want to put the blame on Biden, there's enough to go around. Why did we go there in the first place? You don't go into war without having a clear objective, an achievable, attainable objective. We didn't have that. You can't change an ideology of evil by fighting in one country in which that evil, that ideology, has no geopolitical boundaries like the country itself does. It was impossible. We knew the outcome. Many of us, when we got in, said at one point, at some point when this is all over, we will said it will have been for nothing. And it was for nothing. It was all for nothing. The Taliban are stronger than ever. They've taken over the country. They are going to do horrible things to the Afghani people. And I'm just sick to my stomach for the people that lost someone in Afghanistan. Those people died They didn't die for a purpose. They died valiantly. They died with honor. No one can take that away. But they did not die for a purpose. It served no purpose. Their deaths, each one of their deaths, was needless. We achieved nothing except the destruction of our own people. And that sickens me. And I just, when I think of all the sadness and the lost treasure, what I'm coming to the point of wanting to express to you is you need to talk to the young people. You need to talk to your kids. I don't care if they're 9 years old. We can't keep doing this. How can our politicians be okay with sending people to die for their country when they don't even have the guts enough to vote to declare a war? We can't keep doing this. We have to explain to the young people, to the teenagers, to the preteens, this is what happens. We can't allow this to happen in Vietnam. It happens all the time. We can't be the world's policeman. We can't end evil in other countries, despite the fact that we have the best intentions. So I hope that you feel free to talk about it with young folks. If we can't pass on the lessons that we seem to struggle learning, then I don't know how the next generation can. So with that, we'll hopefully move on to some brighter topics. Folks, stay with us. We'll be right back.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
Go for Launch 2018 series winner. Without further ado, it is my honors. Reginald. The winning team is the Flumin River Excellence.
Oh my God!
They won!
All right, we are back. It's No Apologies. And Lori, you're going to tell us about someone who
You're
is
totally
near and
gonna
dear to your heart.
I knew you were going to tease me about this anyway, because I am kind of fangirling sometimes. I know, it's a thing. We're going to talk a little bit about Ron DeSantis and why it is that he is getting so much attention right now. Part of it is that he is awesome in many, many ways. But I want to give you a little view into his past and his background and tell you a little bit more about this person who's in the news all the time. First of all, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, this past Saturday on August 14th, did a little live shot where he was honoring law enforcement in Florida, and we'll take a look at that.
The last year and a half, police officers and folks who wear the uniform, you really can't do that on Zoom. You got to be out there. You got to be responding, and they did that. They assisted with a whole host of issues, even beyond their typical bailiwick, and particularly involving the coronavirus relief efforts. And so I think that they've really been leaders in these communities. I recently heard about the Sheriff's Blazer Academy. And it seems like a really good idea. They'll be mentoring young men ages 13 to 15, building their confidence and teaching them responsibility and respect. And the fact that this program is funded by seized drug money makes it even better, because they're putting that money to good use. And so stopping the drug dealers now and using the money to hopefully deprive them of future clients is really a 1-2 punch.
So he is one of those people who is tough, but he is also compassionate. And you can see that he has a heart for the blue in Florida in particularly. He is, he is one of those people who has a number of different facets to him. He has an amazing resume that is just as long as your arm, including JAG, including he was at Yale, he was a prosecutor, he was a summa cum laude type of guy. He just really was. Very, very well-spoken, very, very bright, and there's so much more to him than really meets the eye. You just can't even imagine how perfect his resume is with his military service and with his academic accolades. He's just all that in a bag of chips. He really is.
Well, there's very few people that use the term bailiwick. So I'm intrigued.
Okay, that's a good thing right there, too. Now, the other thing about Ron DeSantis is that he has really held the line in Florida.
Yes.
And he has been a very obviously great leader. And that's what you look for in somebody, is you're looking for somebody who exudes this ability to be a leader and has great leadership. And this guy has it in spades. So though I wanted to show you that first clip a little bit to give you an idea of his compassionate side, this guy can also be very, very tough. And he was definitely tough on August 4th, on Wednesday. He was on fire. Let's take a look.
Well, thanks. We're excited to be here. And I just want to say something quickly. Joe Biden has taken to himself to try to single out Florida over COVID. This is a guy who ran for president saying he was going to, quote, shut down the virus. And what has he done? He's imported more virus from around the world by having a wide open southern border. You have hundreds of thousands of people pouring across every month. And it's not just from Mexico. In fact, it's rarely from Mexico. You have over 100 different countries where people are pouring through. Not only are they letting them through, they're then farming them out all across our communities across this country, putting them on planes, putting them on buses. Do you think they're being worried about COVID for that? Of course not. So he's facilitating. Who knows what new variants are out there, but I can tell you whatever variants are around the world, they're coming across that southern border. And so he's not shutting down the virus, he's helping to facilitate it in our country. And what is his big solution? What is he so upset about Florida? His solution is he wants to have the government force kindergartners to wear masks in school. He doesn't believe the parents should have a say in that. He thinks that should be a decision for the government. Well, I can tell you in Florida, the parents are going to be the ones in charge of that decision. And one of the major medical people in his administration just recently told parents that they should be wearing masks at home when they're around their own children. This is insane. Joe Biden also believes that vaccination should be mandated by force of government and that you should have to show vaccination status to be able to participate in society. Now, Florida, we're very proud of our Seniors First strategy. You look at the mortality in nursing homes among seniors, it's declined dramatically. But we said from the beginning, we're going to make it available for all, but we're not going to mandate it on anybody. That's ultimately an individual's choice to be able to do it. Biden, he rejects science because he denies the fact that people that recover from COVID have long-lasting immunity. And that's been proven time and time again, and the data is very clear. So his vision is, just like in New York City, restaurants should ban young kids from being able to go in because they're not eligible for vaccination, and law-abiding citizens have to produce proof of their medical records just to go to the gym or attend an event or just to participate in everyday society. He wants that, but yet if you want to vote, he thinks it's too much of a burden to show a picture ID when you're voting. So no voter ID, but have to show your medical papers just to be able to live in everyday life? Give me a break. And so I think the question is we can either have a free society or we can have a biomedical security state. And I can tell you, Florida, we're a free state. People are going to be free to choose to make their own decisions about themselves, about their families, about their kids' education, and about putting food on the table. And Joe Biden suggests that if you don't do lockdown policies, then you should, quote, get out of the way. But let me tell you this. If you're coming after the rights of parents in Florida, I'm standing in your way. I'm not going to let you get away with it. If you're trying to deny kids a proper in-person education, I'm going to stand in your way, and I'm going to stand up for the kids in Florida. If you're trying to restrict people, impose mandates, if you're trying to ruin their jobs and their livelihoods and their small business, if you are trying to lock people down, I am standing in your way, and I'm standing for the people of Florida. So why don't you do your job? Why don't you get this border secure? And until you do that, I don't want to hear a blip about COVID from you. Thank you.
You can see why the man is a little popular. I mean, he was attacked by President Biden, and he just came right back with full force on that.
That was beautiful.
It is. It's really fun to watch him speak because he is very confident and forceful. So a little history about him. He is 42 years old, so he's very young. He is married to Casey. They have 3 completely adorable little kids, and they're small.
Don't let them around Biden.
I know, right? They're small and they're young. He is also, he's got this amazing military service. He worked at Gitmo, Guantanamo Bay Joint Detention Facility. He was the legal advisor to the SEAL Commander Special Operations Task Force in Fallujah. He has a very storied military career. He was awarded the Bronze Star Medal, the Navy and Marine Corps Accommodation Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, and the Iraq Campaign Medal. So he's got a lot of history. He also was, of course, in the House of Representatives as well before he became governor, and he is the 46th governor of Florida, and they love him. They very much love him in Florida. He did very well as in Congress as well. In 2014, he introduced into the House the Faithful Execution of the Law Act of 2014, which is a bill that would direct the United States Department of Justice, which is under fire right now, the DOJ is, to report to Congress whenever any federal agency refrains from enforcing laws or regulations for any reason. Nice. He's a hold people accountable type of guy. You gotta love him, Ron DeSantis. Now, I've got one little clip to show you here, too, a graphic to show you. There is also some talk of him possibly running for president. So let's show that up on the screen too. So this is, yes, former President Donald Trump is, clear present danger to our nation, at least if you support our democratic republic. But DeSantis is more, according to this writer of this article from MSNBC, more dangerous. He wrote on Saturday, I'm not going to try to say his name. For starters, DeSantis wields actual governmental power while Trump has none. DeSantis is the future of the GOP. Trump has at most one more campaign left in him, so he's dissing there. But
Interesting.
He's young, and he is a real positive force in the Republican Party right now in Florida. Ron DeSantis.
He's fun to watch,
Yes,
and
he
he's
is.
going to continue to be fun to watch. And I am wondering, it'll be interesting, I predict within a year, he starts moving his punches from Biden to Kamala. Folks, we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Stick with us.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Prairie Patriot Firearms and Training is the region's most complete gun and training center. 5-lane indoor range, a gun shop, and a certified training facility. Firearms training courses are offered daily for new, intermediate, and advanced shooters. If you're not comfortable in a classroom setting, Prairie Patriot offers one-on-one private lessons, from basic self-defense training to concealed weapons testing, along with a full line of guns, ammunition, holsters, and concealment clothing. Prairie Patriot, 3930 Memorial Highway, prairiepatriot.com.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
And we're back. It's No Apologies, your after-hours oasis of sanity.
It's a good thing we have some of that.
Not much, but a little bit. Just a smidge.
A little bit.
So next up, this segment and the next, we are going to have a Freedom Fest interview. And this one I found really fun. And I mentioned to you, Lori, that, I don't know, I just connected with Emily. She's a young gal, Jewish faith. That's her orientation, freedom and Judaism. And she was just so excited to be, I think, at Freedom Fest and to talk with me, for example, of being like-minded and finding people who, get it, right?
Yep. Yep.
And especially for those that are newly initiated in sort of like this whole freedom thought process, to find like-minded people is really exciting.
Yeah, I get it.
So let's go ahead and roll that.
All right, folks, we are at Freedom Fest in Rapid City. I'm very happy to present our guest, Emily Yaffe, and you have a podcast, Pluribus Unum. And we spoke very briefly earlier, and I find your story and your I guess, mission, if we will, very, very intriguing. And please explain to our viewers what it is that you are doing.
Well, I originally got the idea because over the last year and really years, people call conservatives all sort of nasty names, and I'm conservative, most of my family is conservative, and they're really nice people. And I didn't understand how all these people could be saying terrible things about the people I love the most.
Yes.
And I realized no one was getting the opportunity to meet real conservatives. They were just hearing about who they were, but not actually getting to know them. And I thought someone should bring the average conservative person, not the Dennis Prager's, not the Ben Shapiro, but the guy next door to you who's conservative and works at the post office. People should get to know who these people are. So that's how it started, and now it's morphed a little bit because I realize that there are so few Jewish voices in the conservative, libertarian political space. There are a lot of Jewish voices. They're all on the left.
Yes.
And
so to our viewers, I just want to point out that you are speaking specifically to trying to bring an awareness to the Jewish community. You mentioned Dennis Prager and Ben Shapiro, two very well-known names, both from the Jewish community, but then suddenly it drops off, right?
Yeah.
And so now you bring a younger perspective, perhaps, a female perspective, perhaps, and you're saying maybe a next-door neighbor perspective.
Yes.
Of course, until your podcast completely takes over and then you
Please
surpass
God.
Ben Shapiro,
Yeah.
right? But so that's your mission.
Yes.
Okay.
And with Dennis and Ben, maybe now because they're so large, I don't think they even speak specifically to the Jewish community. They're talking to the world, and there aren't people really talking to the Jewish community, going into synagogues and saying, this is what the Torah says. How does what the Torah say connect to something like Black Lives Matter, or election fraud, or lockdowns? All of these conversations we're having, what does the Torah say? What does God say, and how can we as Jews, how are we using what is supposed to be our religion in these conversations?
Yes, it's so interesting because the same concerns that you're bringing up, I think, are just across the board. And how do we have any kind of conversation when, as you said, being a conservative, you're suddenly demonized? You know, you're almost not even human.
Yeah.
But when you get to what the principles are of conservatism, it is all about values, whether they're Jewish values or Christian values, or you know, in large part, actually Muslim values.
Right.
Depending on your perspective.
Yes.
But so I think it's fantastic to try and bring awareness around, because people, I think, will say, for instance, Republicans or conservatives are evil. Mm-hmm. But what about Aunt Mary? Well, no, not her.
Right.
Or what about our neighbors George and Sally? Well, no, they're
Not
good
them.
too. And so I think the more and more people are aware that folks like yourself, and in your mission, when you bring that awareness out, no, this is what we're about. These people aren't the exception; they're the example. They represent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That is great. And what kind of response are you getting?
I've had a lot of listeners, or mostly so far family members and friends, who say just what you say. Oh, it's so nice because I'm conservative, and when I go to work, people think I'm a terrible person, and it's so nice to have someone articulate the fact that I'm not a terrible person, and to have someone speak. Not everyone is a speaker. You know, not everyone's going to make a podcast or be on TV or even write articles. So someone should speak for them.
Good for you. Fantastic. And what time do you live podcast, or is it something where people can go and find the archives and take a look at things?
People can go and find on any podcast app, so whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify, iHeartRadio, any of those, and they just type in Pluribus Unum, and then I usually post twice a month. Right now is what I'm doing.
Interesting. Well, that's great. And where are you located physically?
In California.
California.
Fun stuff in California.
Yeah. Do you think that the COVID, the repressive and draconian measures that governments took, especially say in New York and California, are helping maybe to open people's eyes to maybe accept your message, or am I being too optimistic?
I don't think you're being optimistic. I don't know that people are ready to vote for Donald Trump quite yet, but I do think people are upset about the lockdowns. And they're upset with government, but they've never been upset with government before, really. I mean, they've been upset with Republicans, but they've always sort of thought government is the hope. But I think now they realize government is not the hope. So their eyes are open and their feelings. I think what's most important, what I think a lot of conservatives miss sometimes, is that the conversation is so feeling-based. And we can't be just fact-based because young people like stories, people like the emotions. So we have to talk about the real emotions that people are having. Right now, people are having distrust, and they're uneasy, and they're feeling sad and depressed and untethered. So again, they might not be Republicans quite yet, but I think people are a little bit more open to new ideas because they've come to it on their own.
Yeah, interesting. And out in New York with, Black Lives Matter, it's okay for them to protest, but have big Jewish wedding celebrations.
I had so many friends who had to reschedule. We couldn't go to synagogue for the high holidays, and it was shocking for the Jewish community to not be able to celebrate the high holidays together, and for Orthodox communities especially who won't use something like Zoom, so there's really no connection. It really decimates the community feeling, which is one of the things that religion offers so strongly.
Exactly, and that gets to the fundamentals of why a lot of the people that are here.
Yeah.
It's an aspect of humanity, being able to connect with each other and relate and congregate.
Man was not meant to be alone. That's like number one in the Torah.
So I like that, and we've got another segment with her, but I just those types of conversations are so special.
They are.
So special. All right, folks, we will be back with the second part of that interview. Stick with us.
When you're buying windows, make sure you're comparing apples to apples. Hi, I'm Jesse with the Window Source. We only sell you the best windows and doors for the best price. Call the Window Source. Just because you pay less doesn't mean you get less.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go. We deliver for you.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
From Lambeau Field to your living room. Catch all the Green Bay Packers preseason games exclusively on Beck Sports. Available on KRDK, KNDB, or KNDM TV. The Pack take on the Houston Texans August 14th, followed by the New York Jets August 21st, and end off the preseason with the Buffalo Bills August 28th. Check Beck.Sports to find more scheduling and local channel information.
All right, thanks for coming back, folks. We've got part two with my dear friend, Emily.
That's what I'm saying. The Torah has everything that people had a question about over the last year. It's there in the Torah. It's there. God already gave it to us. If you're a Christian, then it's also in the New Testament. I understand that it's also in other religions, but it's there, and it's not just for Jews, but specifically for Jews. We don't have to come up with the answers.
Right there.
It's there.
Right. So, non-Jewish guy. Here's what confuses me. I would think that the Jews would like Donald Trump because of policies in the Middle East and going. So again, I'm sorry if I'm showing ignorance, right? But it would seem to me that moving to Jerusalem would have been solid. It would seem to me that the conservatives supporting Israel would bring the. So I'm at a loss. Being on the outside, I'm like, how does that work?
I feel the same way.
Okay.
There is an incredible cognitive dissonance within the Jewish community as it relates to Israel and conservatism, and frankly, I don't fully understand the mindset either because it's not mine. Israel is our homeland, and at the very least, peace should be something that everyone wants. So all those peace treaties that Donald Trump helped to make happen, you would think the Jewish community would be on board, but they're so sort of like how the black community is so staunchly Democrats. The Jewish community has also been Democrats for so long that I don't think some of them even think about it. We're told that the right is right-wing extremists are anti-Semitic. So why, just like the black community is told that right-wingers are racist, so why would the Jewish community even enter into dialogue with someone who's conservative? Because they're anti-Semitic. And yes, is there anti-Semitism that comes from right-wing extremists? Absolutely. It happens. Sure. But there's equal, I would dare say, more anti-Semitism on the left.
Yeah.
So I wish I had the answer to why the Jewish community feels that way.
Yeah, I think the left has been very successful to paint the entire spectrum of the right with the brush that should only be used for a tiny sliver. The people that talk about one of the number one concerns, or possibly the number one concern in the United States, is white supremacists, are ridiculous.
Yeah.
How deep do you have to have your head in the sand to acknowledge what the talking heads are saying on TV? That's our number one concern.
It's interesting because I have had what one might call anti-Semitic experiences. I was at Disneyland once with a group of other Jewish campers, and people called us dirty Jews. I have had things thrown at me when I've been walking to and from synagogue. But I don't look at the country and say it's anti-Semitic. I think that guy is a jerk. That guy is ignorant. Look at that awful person. Because there are awful people in this world who are going to do terribly awful things. That doesn't mean the country's anti-Semitic or racist or any of the other terrible insults that it's called.
Right. Yeah, this little tiny minority, but see, that's the angle of the left, is to divide. And so when you expand maybe a 0.1% of the population who are ignorant like that, and try and say they represent the 50, that's the way to divide, because then that makes it so hard for you and for me to try and get the word out about the virtues of conservatism. And they've been so successful at it. And I think that's probably the biggest struggle. But that's exactly, I guess, your aim, is to overcome that obstacle.
Exactly. E Pluribus Unum. It's right there. It's on our coins. We're out of many one. I think it's beautiful that there are people of all religions and all cultures. I mean, I'm a Jew, and I find this country to be the best country for Jews ever. But I think it's great that there are people of all different backgrounds here. We're trying to find unity, right? Like real unity, values that we can coalesce around. But that's what I am trying to do, is just bring people together to recognize that it's okay to think differently than other people. That doesn't make you a bad person. And you can even talk about it. You don't have to avoid those topics. Talk about those topics and then go have a beer together.
Yeah, exactly. You can unite on these principles. And if you are adhering to the principles properly, those principles are never qualified with the question of, but what's your religion, what's your skin color? It just doesn't matter.
Right.
No one gives a crap. Do you respect me and my freedom? Because I respect you and your freedom. Would you like to buy my goods? Because I'd like to buy your goods.
Yes.
That's it. Nobody cares about skin color.
I wish people knew how little I cared, how little most conservatives, libertarians care about their skin color, about their religion, religion, about their sexual orientation, about their gender identity. Don't care.
Don't care.
Like, it's
treat
not...
me with respect, I'll treat you with respect.
That's it.
Exactly.
Really
well, that's a good note to go out on.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
I
you
really
so much.
appreciate it.
It's been really nice. Thank you.
Oh, she was delightful.
Yep.
So genuine.
Like her. Go ahead and pull up her the graphic for her website, folks. She's a gem. epluribus.unum.podbean.com, I believe it is. So, all right. Next up.
We're going to do an off the cuff.
Off the cuff!
Woohoo.
Yes, all right.
All right, we'll be right back.
Don't miss it.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Spas, etc. You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you can pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Main and Bismarck.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
And we're back. It is time for Off the Cuff. Lori Hintz.
Well, here's the deal.
Lay it on me.
I like to call this the crazy story segment because it's all of the weirdest things of culture that I like to pull out and throw at you because you always have such a staid and steady answer to most all of the craziness that's going on in the world. And I'm going to start today with an article about the Academy of Breastfeeding Medicine, which now recommends, you're welcome.
Wait.
Yeah, there's an Academy of Breastfeeding Medicine. I know, who knew? I didn't know either.
Isn't it something like Milk Parent or something
No,
like that?
it's worse.
Okay.
Let's just put up the graphic right off the bat here, too. The Academy of Breastfeeding Medicine has issued guidelines that suggest employing such terms as chest feeding, human milk feeding, and parent's milk to promote what it calls gender-inclusive language. Yeah, that was my attitude to your face right now. The ABM position statement on infant feeding and lactation-related language and gender, co-authored by 8 doctors and the Academy, said that, quote, the use of desexed or gender-inclusive language is appropriate in many settings, end quote. Now, the next one says that ABM recognizes that not all people who give birth and lactate identify as female, and that some of these individuals identify as neither female nor male, said the 4-page document posted on July 29th. Suggested gender-inclusive terms for breastfeeding include chest feeding, lactating, expressing, pumping, human milk feeding. Alternatives for breast milk include milk, human milk, mother's own milk, parents' milk, and wait for it, father's milk. Now, my question to you is, as a medical professional, are there going to be doctors who actually embrace this?
Yes. Yes.
And
it's complete lunacy. It's complete lunacy. But the lunacy has nothing to do with intelligence.
Right.
People are bought in to this ideology. They are bought into the idea that they are morally superior if they bow down to the language police and to the politically correct police. The idea that what you showed, they don't want to say, they want to say chest feeding, they're okay with breastfeeding, I think it was, but it just doesn't make sense. Oh no, they're not okay with breast, but they're okay with lactation.
Right.
Well, you can only lactate from a breast. That part's scientific.
Right.
So see, this is what's ridiculous.
I know.
That's why I asked.
That's why I asked this.
If you're going to be medical,
Right.
a man has breasts.
Correct.
Right. A man has breasts, and if you would, depending on hormones, I'm not talking about trans people, but I mean, you can have an issue with hormones, right? You can have an issue with hormones because of anabolic steroid.
Men can have breast cancer.
They do have so the whole point is you breastfeed from a breast. I don't care what, it doesn't change. So these people are off the rocker. And here's the thing. Doctors are not exempt from being complete effing morons. There are many moronic doctors. If you recall, we had some here in town calling for the loss of licensure by people like me because we were questioning the science on some of the stuff they were saying. So the passion with which people, professional people, just as well as any others, the tenacity that they hang on to this ideology is far more powerful than their own true scientific knowledge, than their ability to think critically and rationally. Yes, doctors will embrace this all over the place.
I just was astounded that they would be not looking so much at science as much as the wokeness aspect of it. And on that same theme,
people are stupid, Lori.
I know they
People
are.
are stupid.
I know it's silliness. Okay, so the next story that I found, and this is a Blaze Media on Telegram video that I saw. And by the way, I'm not going to show you the video, but it was a Chad Prather video, and it is hilarious. It's very, very, very funny. And this is the whole, speaking of woke thing again, too. In the video, the description says, yes, I haven't even touched on, if I have, we'll have to knock it off there. I will have to, no, I'm fine. All right. The deal is I'm going to try to describe this as best I can. This is so goofiness.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just show the graphic and I'll read along here. Mattel is not woke enough, and it's bending the knee to the woke mob. Last year, Mattel released 5 dolls to celebrate the new events added to the Olympics. And the skateboarding Barbie, according to this video of Chad Prather, the skateboarding Barbie was supposed to be the doll representing the Asian community. So she had that onus on her. Many criticized the toy company because the doll, wait for it, was not Asian enough. Now, let that ruminate and think a little bit about that. So Mattel said in a statement, our intention to represent the Asian community with the skateboard doll fell short, and we fully receive and recognize the feedback. So I'm just wondering if you can tell me what exactly is Asian enough. So this is the one that I just read. Let's go to the next one so you can see the picture. And there they are. Now, the one that is the skateboarding Barbie is the one on the upper right-hand corner of the screen.
Obviously.
And and it's the one that was not Asian enough. Is this not plain racism at its core by saying somebody is not Asian enough?
Right. Well, yeah. Do they have any black Barbies? I don't see color, so I don't know.
Well, that's most of us. We're looking at that
So,
going,
you know,
oh,
here's
look at the
what I
cute
like.
dolls. I mean,
So,
who is...
yeah, if you look at the alleged Asian Barbie up there,
Yeah.
did you see how white her skin was?
Was it too white?
I don't know. Was it geisha? So here's the stupid thing, right?
Right.
The leftists are so focused on race, on color, on ethnicity. They're focused on it, right? You have to be focused on the differences, yet you can't talk about the differences. So how do they not see this as a quandary?
Right.
She's not Asian enough. Really? Really? Can you tell me how perhaps the epicanthal folds need to be a little bit more exaggerated? Is that what it is? Does the hair need to be blacker and straighter? Oh my God, no, that's racist. Don't say those things, it's racist, but we want those things in the doll. You stupid people.
Precisely.
God, you make me sick.
So ridiculous. I just thought that was ridiculous as well. Join us for the next No Apologies. Please come back even after that, because we will have whistleblower from Facebook, Ryan Hartwig, on the show, and we'll have another fantastic and gripping Freedom Fest interview for you next time on No Apologies. I know, it's so goofy, crazy.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.